Hey guys, on today's episode, we're working on the Koenigsegg CC850, the world's first automatic and manually shifted supercar. Absolutely amazing. We're going to detail it today on this episode of Drive and Protect. Once the CC850 was unloaded off the trailer, we backed it inside the ammo studio and just took a few minutes to ogle and stare at the beauty of Christian's latest creation. What do you think, Steve?
Well, as I don't have to work on it, it's cool.
Before sort of hopping in and taking it for one of its first rides on US public roads. Now I have to say, this is a huge honor to be there for its maiden voyage, so enjoy the first public drive of the CC850.
And also, it's lighter, and it's all about weight also, weight and performance. I have to go there in 2 weeks. Australia, New Zealand, Los Angeles, back to Australia, Los Angeles, and then New York again.
And that's always with the car?
Yeah.
Wow. How does the car get there?
Airplane. Sometimes I fly with the freighter, and sometimes 747 up in the cockpit, playing with the controls, flying. Yeah, they let me do that because we only like 5 people on the aircraft, and there are no carriers. So. In some states, you're not allowed to go to the right, right?
No, pretty much every one of them.
Oh yeah, okay.
Well, not in New York City though.
Okay. Oh, you're not allowed to do that in New York City?
No. Christopher, just like the Jessica that we did when we pushed it down in Manhattan, down that road, that was fun.
Cool.
And then the Jamero, right?
Yes.
Awesome cars. This one, I just went for a ride with you. Spectacular.
Yeah.
What are some of the new things in this model?
So this is the first hypercar that has both manual and automatic gearbox in one.
That's like a dream of every car, guys.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So you can drive on small roads up and down the gears,
Right.
and then suddenly you feel lazy, you put it in automatic
Or you're in
mode.
traffic or something, you stick it in automatic.
Yeah,
Got it.
so that's what I did during our drive. If
Yeah.
you notice, in the traffic I had the automatic in,
Yep.
and when we came out to the roads I started to go manual.
Yeah,
and then you
super
get all the good feeling. It's awesome, and it's so quick, and how it reacts, the gear switching, and when we let go of the clutch, it's awesome. So you double click on this button here, where it says Ghost, everything opens up, the doors and the hood. One of the biggest fuel caps in the world. So if you look here, you open it up, and there it is. And you have a show at the same time. At the gas station, everybody wants to check this out. What is this? It's a Koenigsegg.
Before it heads down to New York City and then out to the Hamptons, we need to give it its first proper wash and detailing since it was built. As you can see, there are pebbles and some driving junk on the lower portions of the paint, fingerprints, dust, and so on, but nothing too crazy. As you can see from the water beading on the paint, it's likely a spray sealant or maybe a spray wax was used at some point before it arrived at the studio. So when you're power washing the paint, it's a good idea to take note of this before you begin polishing, as different levels of protection may cause buildup in the polishing pad later on. So just be aware of this when you're power washing. While I was rinsing, Dan filled the foamer with foam and boost and covered the paint in a thick layer of lubrication afterwards. With the paint now soaking, Renan filled both the wash bucket and the wheel bucket with foam and brute, respectively, before focusing on the back side of the rim with the Derek Bemis microfiber towel method. Now, clearly these have carbon ceramic brakes and they haven't been driven much until today, so the buildup is going to be minimal, but they are going to get a layer of Gelée Pro later on, so they do need to be perfectly clean beforehand. With Renan working the wheels, Dan and I focused on the paint with blue microfiber wash towels. After a thorough wash, I rinsed the soap off again with a power washer. Now, I know it doesn't look like it, and I can only imagine the comments of, why are you cleaning something that's already clean, sort of thing. Well, it's not perfectly clean, and obviously it's a challenge to show that dirt on a silver paint, but more importantly, Koenigsegg is synonymous with perfection, especially in my opinion, the paint. We're gonna talk about that later. So for $3+ million, there's absolutely no excuse for anything less than perfection, and that's why it's here in the studio before the upcoming shows. All right, guys, at this point, the car has been washed and dried, and then just like the Jets go, look at that. Astronomical amount of paint to a detailer. That is just unbelievable. Christopher just said that there's 25 layers of clear coat on there, or 25 steps. So this is just bananas. We could polish for days and turn this thing to a diamond, and you're not gonna take anything off of it or anything significant. I mean, it's just blowing through the paint depth gauge. It's basically saying this is greater than almost 40 mil, which is the max of this particular alcometer. So pretty cool. We have a lot of polishing to do. We're gonna do a single step. It's gonna look amazing, and then put a coating on it and get this thing ready for its next show.
And I'm a showgirl. Yellow ribbons in my hair and a dress got them. So how do you polish again?
Next, we started polishing with a yellow pad and polish to remove any possible light imperfections and prepare for the coating application.
Let's take a little
After my
look-see.
initial test, the paint was literally perfect. I mean, 100%, 997 or 98 or 99, 100% literal perfection. And it's not every day you get to cook with the world's best ingredients. So today is an extra special day for me as a detailer. While Dan and I were jeweling the paint, Renan worked the rims by hand with polish to set up for Gillette Pro. As the day now turned to night, our next step was to lightly clean off the polish residue with an ISO wipe on both the wheels and the paint before removing Reflex Pro and Gillette Pro from its traveling case. Dan and I worked the paint while Renan coated the rims. Now keep in mind, when it's super humid like it is right now in the video, you must work one panel at a time before wiping it off because the coating actually cures when it's exposed to oxygen and moisture. So the higher the humidity, the faster it tends to cure.
All right, Dan. It's getting sticky.
Again, the goal of Reflex Pro is to lower the paint's surface energy with a flexible and organic bond to your outermost layer. In other words, it makes it more challenging for contaminants to stick to the surface, thus making it easier to clean in the future. All right, Christopher, we just finished Reflex Pro. It is still a little tacky, but by tomorrow, this thing is gonna be solid, it's gonna be hard, and it's gonna look fantastic. What do you think?
Absolutely amazing. It didn't even look this good at the factory.
Speaking of that, was this the first wash that's ever gotten the first real cleaning?
It's real wash and clean of the car.
Since production?
Since production. Because we took it right off the line and sent it right over to Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And it didn't have time to cure everything properly.
Sure.
So now it's perfect timing to do this.
The first real wash. I
Yes.
love it. I'm super
Yes.
excited. This thing looks amazing. We have to work on the interior now. Unreal. Inside, I'm using lather and an interior brush for the light soiling along the stitching. I also found a blemish on the seatbelt that looks like someone's makeup that must have brushed against the skin as they got in or out or whatever. Again, it's not a really big deal, but no stone unturned before it's press tour. The floor mats, which are removable, super cool by the way, are first vacuumed, cleaned with lather, leather, and vinyl cleaner, then steam vac to be sure that they're ready for the next driver. Inside the cockpit, and I actually say that without being funny, it actually feels like a cockpit inside. Most of the surfaces just had a light layer of dust and fingerprints, obviously, from everybody poking and prodding all the buttons. Now, the windshield canopy cleaning, that is quite the exercise, and having super long arms are a bit of a prerequisite to reach the very front, but at the end of the day, this thing just is unbelievable when you sit inside. You can see all the way around, super cool. For the screens, I used Obey screen and glass cleaner and a short-haired glass towel, even on the super tiny rear window, which I thought was funny. For the rubber, we applied a very, very light layer of mud dressing just to add a little pop for the pictures. With all that, day one was over and the car looked phenomenal, but we did need to let the coating cure overnight. Bright and early the next morning, I applied blush wax infused with Reflex Pro over last night's coating application to add sort of a slick surface to the touch. When I was done, the depth and shine of the paint was just unmatched by anything I'd ever seen or worked on before, but I did want to see it outside in the sun. So Krister hopped in, started her up, and set off all the smoke alarms in my building. Oh my gosh. Video coming soon, guys. By the way, look at Krister's ghost socks. I gotta get me a pair of those. Well guys, we're all done with the Koenigsegg, and of course this thing just looks gorgeous. I'm sort of starstruck and a little bit, it's hard to find the right words for this thing. If you look at it from a detailing perspective, when I did the Jesco and of course when I did the Gemera and now this, the evolution from, again, the detailing mindset, the paint is just glorious. I think of it like a hockey player or maybe a baseball player or whatever, and just having that perfect bat, and it just, when the ball hits it, when you're working on this paint, it's so hard to, I can't find the right words. I was thinking about how do I say this and how do I sort of express this on camera? The paint is by far the best. With all the cars I've ever done, it's just a joy to polish. For some reason, I'm not exactly sure, I'm trying to figure that out, but I just am in love with this paint. Now, from a car perspective, just like a total geek out nerd, it's the first time I've ever been in a car, and obviously it's the first car that has an automatic and a manual transmission. I love manual just like everybody else, but I can't stand driving manual when I'm in New York City and traffic and whatever. And we were actually doing that yesterday when we went for a drive. We put it in automatic, and it was just this weird feeling of like, okay, we got to sit in traffic, fine, but I don't have to sit there with a clutch and jerk back and forth. It's just to have both of those in this car, then combine it with this piece of artwork. I'm sorry, I'm being a little bit crazy, but this is why I got in the business all those years ago, to be privileged to be in the same room as this. It's a really big deal. I'm sure if you're watching this video, you're going like, yeah, this is a big deal. So believe me, I don't know. I just, it's a real privilege. So big thank you to Krister for coming here. He's been a longtime friend of mine. And of course, Christian von Koenigsegg. Of course, if you want more information on the car, there's all the specs there, Koenigsegg.com. Just thanks for watching, guys. This is a big deal for me. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye. Just before the Koenigsegg left for its next show, the mayor of Danbury, Dean Esposito, got a sneak peek of the CC850 in the Ammo studio and just how amazing the engine sounds on startup, as Danbury is quickly becoming the secret hotspot for supercars from around the world. Get away with murder in this town if you drive a Cadillac.
Absolutely. W123 Coupe, that's the chassis code. It's a 300 CD non-turbo.